class, I thought I would start video recording some of your close reading packet information to go over instructions for you and to give you a couple examples. So today's assignment, and today is April 2nd, is to do page 70 of our close reading packet. And I'm going to start up, as always, trying to read and figure out what this wants us to do. So the close reading prompt, it says, compare and contrast the factors that led to the development of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight I need to compare, which is to find how they're the same, what factors led to their development that are similar, and then contrast, meaning how were their factors different. And then the second part that says to annotate, double underline events and details in each selection that give information about the factors that led to the development of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad. And then it says to collaborate, which we're not able to do here, but you are able to do this on your own. It says work with your partner to write ideas on the chart, so this chart below, by sharing and comparing your annotations and discussing the key factors that led to the development of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad. So we're gonna write ideas on the chart, comparing and contrasting the two. So I would probably start with how they are the same, and then maybe toward the bottom, how are they different? So what factors led to each that was a little bit different? And again, you're gonna need to go back into your reading to find those factors. And so I'm gonna show you my close reader right now. You can see I've annotated it. I annotated it the first time that I read the article. And we're gonna see right here at the bottom of one, and I've already kind of annotated that the railroad connected cities. So one of the factors that led to the railroad is that the creation of the railroad is that cities were able to be, they were able to be connected. And then the railroads, they affected everyday life and how people did business. So as people were able to connect more with one another, more and more goods were able to be shipped. And another factor of the railroad, especially the Transcontinental Railroad, we're going to find on page 13 here, was what led to the Transcontinental Railroad was in part the discovery of gold. So gold was discovered in California, and that's going to be a huge reason why the Transcontinental Railroad was created. And then here's some other factors, these main ones right down here. I've already kind of underlined when I was originally annotating, but I'll highlight them for this since they're already underlined. Some of the factors that led to the Transcontinental Railroad was that people wanted a better way to travel. Farmers and business owners in the West needed a faster way to ship their goods. So that's going to be probably one of the biggest differences between Route 66. So the article, The Open Road, is about Route 66. I'm going to write that there just to help me. And then the second side over here is building the Transcontinental Railroad. So again, I'm writing ideas that compare and contrast the factors that led to the development of each. So a factor that led to the development of the Transcontinental Railroad was, again, we're going to say mostly on page 13 at this moment, it was going to be that gold was discovered in California. People wanted to get there, and that they wanted a better way to travel. And then farmers and business owners in the West needed faster ways to ship their goods east. So those reasons and ideas would be written down here. So I'm going to put gold discovered in California. And then those other things that we just discussed on page 13, you would kind of write there. So this is just to get you guys started on this chart. If you are looking at a way to get started, remember you're looking for factors that were similar for the creation of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad, and then factors that were different. And one of the big differences too, and why I think the Route 66 was created, is because the Model T car the Model T car made transportation easier. And we know that from the reading, as transportation was easier, more and more people were able to travel, and therefore the road, or Route 66, needed to be created so people could travel. Okay, now we're at the bottom of the page, so you're gonna, again, use information in the readings to fill out this chart, and then the bottom says, write a comparison statement to answer the question. How were the factors that led to the development of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad the same? And how are they different? So you're gonna look at the information you put up here, and you're gonna write a sentence on how the factors were the same in the creation of Route 66 and the Transcontinental Railroad, and then how they were different. Now for tomorrow's assignment, or Friday's assignment, and that would be Friday, April 3rd, we're gonna be working on page 75, and that's right here. And these questions are text-dependent questions, so they need to be answered in RASCI format to the best of your ability. So we're gonna reread paragraph 8. Why did Central Pacific workers face more difficult work than the Union Pacific workers? And this is in Transcontinental Railroad, so let's look at paragraph 8. And it begins right here, and this paragraph discusses why it was more difficult. So it says the Union Pacific seemed to have the easier job. It was building across flat land. The Central Pacific had to run track through the Sierra Nevada mountains. Either way, the race was on. So again, the question is, why did Central Pacific workers face more difficult work than the Union Pacific workers? What was in their path? And we have a nice map in this reading, right here, on page 14, that kind of shows us. So the Central Pacific had to start right over here in California, and what do they encounter right away is this topographical features of the mountains, the Sierra Nevadas. Whereas the Union Pacific started way over here, and they got some nice flat land that they got to lay tracks on right there. So the second text-dependent question says to reread the price of progress. Why is this an appropriate title for this section? So that is on page 17, the price of progress. And you can see here on mine, I kind of wrote the cost of progress, meaning what was the actual cost of moving forward. And if you recall, this whole section here was basically about how the railroad impacted Native Americans that were living on the lands that the railroad went across. And this last paragraph has a lot of those specific details on what it actually cost the Native Americans, and it ends up costing them their way of life right here at the bottom. They were unable to sustain their way of life, and it's because of the reasons explained here in this article. And then your third text-dependent question says, reread Mark Twain's journal entries found on page 19. How does Twain contrast the two ways of transportation? So there's going to be a difference there. Our contrast is a difference. D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. Oops. Wait. D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. Difference. Okay. And so we're gonna, you're gonna look at this right here, this travelogue on page 19. Remember, it says Diary of Travel. And you're gonna compare or contrast the different ways that he describes the trip that he took, and how it is that he wrote differently about the two. Okay. Good luck.